yours too. So it's perfect. It's perfect for us to do a Snickers drop right around Halloween.
Hello. Hi everyone. Happy Wednesday.
Hello. Hi everyone.
Oh gosh, I am tired. So, oh, hello Blue Radon. And thanks for joining over here. I saw some of your tweets earlier today. Hi Gilliam. Thanks for joining today too. Oh gosh, I'm so tired. uh, so, first off, I launched the thing! Yay! So I launched the project. Well, I started posting some of the. Sorry, hold on. Let me actually turn down the sound a little bit of the music. It's a little bit louder than I expected. See, one of these days I'll figure out the sound on the stream. Yeah, but it's still not one of those days. Hello to Artsy Fartsy, and hi to Alice. Thanks so much for joining, and thank you, Blue Radon. I'm so excited. Okay, so earlier this week on Monday, I started posting some of the stories, and I'll kind of show them uh, in a little bit. But then this morning, I launched the website, um, which is the website that you've been seeing on. Yeah, so it's the website that you've been seeing me work on, and that is the makemyvotecount.party. And and I wanted to, so actually, I love well, I love Alice's reaction. So when I was trying to figure out the domain for this website, it was like we knew that we were gonna call the project "Make My Vote Count," because that's a very succinct way to kind of put the purpose of the project on. But unfortunately, makemyvotecount.com was already taken. And nobody's doing anything with it. It's just like links to a GoDaddy thing. Um, and then we were trying to figure out like what is a good alternative, um, uh, like alternative ending. Sorry. Okay. So yeah. And we didn't know that dot party was an ending. But I guess that kind of makes sense. And then I really like the idea of ending it with party because um, it is, the more I learn about like voting in America, the more I learn about kind of the history of suppression. And that's something that I really want to take seriously. I'm not trying to make light of it. Um, but I also kind of liked the idea of putting the stop party to like put like a positive spin on it, that like it's, something hopefully like kind of uplifting and inclusive. That was kind of the 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 thought process behind the dot party extension. I'm still a little bit nervous about it just because like it does feel like, I hope it doesn't come across as me making light of a situation. It's just my hope of making what I've been finding to be kind of like a messy and complicated topic into something that's hopefully warm and welcoming. So that was kind of like my thought process behind it. That was a tangent, but yeah. So we launched it. Oh, thank you so much, Alice. Yes, my new workspace. So, I added some pumpkins because I love fall. I love spring and fall equally, but fall, I think I love, well, so spring I love the flowers, and fall I just love like kind of all the food and the mood. And so those are my little like pumpkins that are celebrating uh fall. Also, I wanted to mention that if first of all, thank you for showing up 2 p.m. instead of the 10:30 a.m. I pulled an all-nighter for the first time for work. Pulled an all-nighter for work for the first time since college. And I think it was that like um I'll show the website in a little bit, but I think there was like little things that took me much longer to finish than I expected, mostly around like mobile and responsiveness, because of course, even with like a really great, like essentially WYSIWYG web design, like no code web design platform, I'm still gonna struggle with mobile. It's like my eternal enemy. um, and I struggled a lot with the kind of animation of the ballot on mobile, and eventually I kind of gave up and I disabled it for mobile for now. Anyways, all of this is to say that yesterday I was supposed to get the website finalized and a like interactive on there. Um, and I took basically all day until like 9 p.m. to get the website to a place that I liked, which means that I started a brand new chart and a brand new interactive chart at 10 p.m. And um, this is why for this project, I was like, I'm going to do everything on Instagram because I nitpick like no other when it's a web-based interactive. I mean, like I've been nitpicking for like a static image, like static chart for Instagram. Also, I'm like nitpicking like the font size and like the placement. But I'm even worse when it's like an interactive, um, like chart. And I'm like, oh, I can make this filter and I can make this highlight and I can put this feature in. It's like endless. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna animate transition. Um and so yeah, I did that until 5 a.m. And at a certain point I was like, well, I'm supposed to launch this in the morning. And I was aiming to launch it around like 6 a.m. And at this point, like around 3 a.m. I was like, well, you know, I might as well just like finish and launch it. And then at 4 a.m., I was like, yep, it's really taking a while. Um, and at 5 a.m., I finally finished it. And then, or 5:30 a.m., I think I finally finished it and like got everything ready to launch it. And then launched it around actually the 6 a.m. I was planning for. And then spent another like hour trying to answer questions because there was technical difficulties where I didn't hook something up correctly, and so some people couldn't see the website, and so I slept at 7 a.m. Which means, and then I got back up at noon. I am actually going to eat my lunch right now because I got up and I did exercise, I showered, and I got right on the stream. And my husband is lovely and he made me coffee. I am not coherent today. And I'm barely keeping it together. So this is going to be a really fun stream. But I wanted to make sure that I showed up for the stream because I made a commitment to you guys, to myself and you guys for this stream. So I wanted to at least show up today, um, if not at 10:30 a.m. Um, hello, and welcome into the chat, Ancient Insan. Ooh, what does that mean? Hi Anna, thanks for joining the chat. Lovely to see you as always. And hello to In Exit You. Um, yeah, Alice. Post it at like 5:30 a.m. Not because of an early bird routine, but a very, very late bird routine. Oh, wow. Um, uh, wow, that is really, really cool. I hope I didn't mispronounce that then. In Insan, ancient Insan says Insan means human in Hindi. Um, yeah. Oh gosh, now I hope I'm not like thoroughly mispronouncing it. Thanks, Christian Mears, for joining, and yeah, thank you. Um, so, oh, awesome! Glad to hear that, Ancient Insan. Yeah, so if today is more chaotic, or if I'm not making sense, or if my eyes are closed most of the time, um, that is why I'm gonna keep drinking my coffee. Um, and actually, I should stir it because the ice has melted on the top, and it is it got a little bit watered down at the top. Anyways, it should be fun. And I'll also be eating at the same time. So welcome to my unofficial mukbang. Um, okay. Wow. Um, yeah, I also wanted to make sure I woke up and did the stream because I still have um two more stories planned for this week. So, um, you shouldn't son. I wish I added something healthy. I think so. My husband made it, and I think he made it. He calls it mocha pot, which I think it's the process. I don't actually know what beans he used. I'm really unknowledgeable about coffee, but it's essentially a mocha pot coffee with um, condensed milk, so and an ice cube, and it used to be a very pretty ice cube. Um, oh yes, and Gilliam, that is a really good idea. I appreciate you joining so often when it's so late. But I hope you have a really, really great rest, and thank you for at least joining in the beginning to say hi. Um, yeah, okay, so actually, the coffee is not healthy, but this is quite healthy. This is like polenta and um, uh, words, polenta and fried onions and tomatoes and a salad mix. So at least this is healthy. So yeah. So um, um uh not at all. I have not slept enough. So the hope is I sleep early today. Um so I have enough sleep for tomorrow because I am old. I mean, I'm not actually old. Sorry. I shouldn't say that. I'm quite young. But my body is older than it used to be when I was in college, when I could just like pull all-nighters like way too often. And now if I just don't get enough sleep, I'm just like set back for days. So I didn't get enough sleep, definitely not, but I'm hoping to get enough sleep tonight. Because ooh, I'm so excited about this. We are doing I'm doing my very first front and happy hour episode recording as a member tomorrow night, which means that I like drinking, so I'll be drinking. And I have learned the hard way the years from the years since I've graduated college, that if I drink without enough sleep, then my body will be unhappy and I will get sick. So I need to sleep enough tonight, and that is the hope. But I do want to publish a story tomorrow morning. So the goal for today is finishing that story. Ooh, thank you for the advice, Ancient Insan. Milk with turmeric for good sleep. It gives very good sleep. I didn't know that. I don't know if I have turmeric. I don't think we have turmeric. Is that like, do you buy it in powder form, or I'm not quite sure. Is that something like you can pick up at the grocery store? Wow, I am really unknowledgeable. I think I've only had like turmeric drinks from cafes. I don't think I've ever made it myself. Um, but yeah. Um, Yeah, so in Exit You, let me actually show you the project soon. Ooh, ooh. Alice has a great random question. How often do you pull all-nighters or near all-nighters, staying up really, really, really late, like, or is it really early, like 6 a.m.? Um, ooh, Blue Radon said I do it a lot, honestly. I'm in college though. Yeah, when I was in college, I did it so often, especially when I started my computer science minor. Um, I think my senior year, so I started my CS minor. Essentially, I started my CS minor second semester junior year. So I had like 3 semesters to do it. And my senior year, first semester, I decided that I was going to cram like 3 big CS classes together. That was like from the 3 most like notorious professors. I don't know why I did this. I think it's like the folly of youth. And that semester, I don't remember sleeping much. And I still distinctly remember that by the end of finals week, I think, dead week or finals week, um, that semester, and I think it was like 3 CS classes and 1 business class. Suffice to say, I don't remember anything from that business class. I don't even remember what business class I was taking. What business class was I taking? I have no idea, actually. I just remember it was like 1 business class and like 3 really intense CS classes. And from the 3 CS classes, by the end of finals week, I was so lacking sleep that I, I remember one of my friends saw me and was like, "Shirley, you look dead." And I think that was like the first time when like someone was so legitimately concerned about my well-being. Um, I distinctly remember that. And then as soon as I finished my finals, I think the next day, I flew to China on a family vacation. And that was the first time in like 21 years where I slept like I knocked out, um, fully knocked out on the plane, for like all 10 hours. I always had trouble sleeping on planes, but that was the first time, like just cold, like the entire time. I don't even remember how I made it because like I had to fly from like SF down to LA to meet my family and then fly to Beijing. I have no idea how I even got down to LA. So that is the story of my semester where I barely slept. And I think I was so traumatized from that experience that like after I managed to like get a full-time job and start full-time, I like just every day slept like um if I could help it, I slept like 10 hours minimum a day. And that was like my excuse for being like making up for all of the lost sleep in college. And actually, even before that semester, I, because I was a business major, we used to do this thing called like case competitions. And actually, I'm not going to try and explain why, but it was just a thing that we did. Um, So I think if anybody else went to undergrad business school, or even I think just business school in general, um, you probably know about case competitions, and it's just like 1 or 2 weeks of like really intense, like working on cases, like working on some sort of a project that you present, um, at the end of a week or two, and it's usually with the team, and usually you just like pull a lot of all-nighters together. Honestly, I don't think it was necessary, but I think it was like kind of the um I don't know. I think it was just like the culture of when you study business, at least for my school, like it, you just did case competitions for resume building. And, but actually, I also really enjoyed it because like you did it with friends and then you just spent so many nights together essentially, working on these, so many nights together, not even like partying or anything, just like so many nights together working, and you just like develop really, I have some really fond memories from it. But yeah, because of that, I think I got really used to sleeping like 2 or 3 hours. Like I like even figured out my um like the my maximum, like my sweet spot of if I slept more than 7 hours, I'm good. And if I'm slept less than 4 hours or 3 hours, I'm good. Not actually good. It's like just adrenaline, but like at least I can keep going the next day. Because I would have classes and stuff. But like between like 3 to 6 hours, like that's the worst quality sleep. Yeah, I am not proud of this. I am not condoning this. I'm just saying I did some crazy shit back in college. Um, where I didn't sleep enough, and um, I took an unhealthy amount of pride in that, and which in retrospect I should not have. Um, but yeah, so because of that, I tried really hard not to pull all-nighters these days. Sometimes if I'm reading like a really good novel or like really watching like a really like addicting drama or something, sometimes I still, go and stay up until like 4, 5, 6 a.m. and I'm just like, and then I just hear the birds chirping. Um, but I don't do that often. And I and that at least I think I don't I think I because I do it for fun and it doesn't take as much brain energy, I don't think I'm as tired afterwards. So I really do think this is probably the first time I pulled an all-nighter for something work related again since college. I do think so. It's been a while since college too. Um yeah. um mm, yeah, and I'm really excited for tomorrow for my first recording for and happy hour recording as a member. Yay! Mm, good for you, Anna. Anna says not until 6 a.m., maybe until like 3 a.m. That is good for you. Um, yeah. I think that's a good summary, I think. Alice says, I've done an all-nighter once or twice in my career to meet a tight deadline, but did it more often in college. Yeah, I think if I ever did an all-nighter for work like after college, I must have wiped it from memory because I try not to do it at all. Um, Arrhythmia says, I was an international business major and I couldn't tell you anything from my classes. Honestly, same for a lot of my classes. And actually, you know what? The most surprising thing for me is, I guess, like, when I was in college, I was like, oh, all these like soft, fluffy classes. They're so soft and fluffy. Um, which is the words that we use to describe classes like organizational behavior or like communication. Um, and we will make fun of them. But it's actually the classes that I took the most from. Um, like, I feel like I learned the most from my organizational behavior class about, like, how people lead and how people work in teams and how people communicate. Um, and those are things that I think I think I'm really bad at or was bad at, and I didn't even know it. And then taking that class was like really eye-opening. But I I think at the time, at the beginning of that class, I was like, oh, this is so silly, like this is so soft and fluffy. Um, and those are the classes that I remember the most from. And the classes where I was like, oh, this is hardcore. I don't know. Not that accounting or finance was like hardcore or anything. Um, or, I mean, I should also shouldn't say that. I think like, in certain aspects, they are pretty like, they can be quite technical. But um, I don't remember anything from my accounting classes. I barely remember. I can, to this day, it is not intuitive to me which side is credit and which side is debit, and which side is what you owe, which side is like what you're owed. Like I can still never keep. I like. I think I stopped at intermediate accounting because I was like, this does not. Like I took business accounting. I took like three or four accounting classes, and I was like, this makes absolutely no sense to me. Um, I had a really fun like corporate finance class. That was really fun. Don't remember anything. I just remember enjoying the class. Yeah, just because as someone that's now doing software, like the number one thing I learned from my three or four accounting classes is that I'm not good at accounting and to hire a professional accountant. Other than that, like I don't really use anything from um, any of my business classes. Sorry, any of my like accounting or finance classes. Because I guess when am I gonna? Yeah. So the things that I now apply much more often is like from my marketing classes, my communication classes, my ethics classes, ethics class, and my organizational behavior class. All the things that I thought was so fluffy and useless back then, because I guess I was really stuck up. Honestly, a lot of us were like that. I'm sorry, back then. Um, but yeah, things that I thought the things that I made fun of the most when taking it ended up being the most useful. What a tangent. Oh yeah, definitely. Ancient Insan. I definitely lacked so much sleep that I don't remember. My memory definitely suffered. Um, oh my gosh, yeah. So, Alice, I if I got less than 3 hours of sleep, I was functional, but functionally loopy. And I guess nowadays that like number has changed to like I have to get above 8.5 hours of sleep, or if less than 5 hours, I am functionally loopy. But 8.5 hours and above is like what I need these days. Um, because my body just can't handle anymore. Oh. That's a good one, Alice. The pulling all-nighters pre-flights to Asia for time zone switches. Um, I I feel like for Asia, yeah, I don't think I ever tried to pull all-nighters, but I tried my hardest to sleep on the plane, because then, especially if I land, because I'll then land in the daytime, and if I can just make it to like 9 p.m. or so something in like Asia time, then I can have like a pretty good, and the adapting to jet lag is much easier. Yeah, Alice. I'm not gonna try to explain why. I'm guessing that was about the case competition. Um, yeah, looking back, I feel like during the time we were like, we must do case competitions so that our resumes look good for all of the like internships that we're applying to. Is I think the kind of the thought process. Uh, I think I did like 11 or 12 in the span of like 2 years. Um, yeah, I don't remember any of them, like the content of any of them. Gave me really great skills though. Like it like taught me because case competitions are so interesting because it's essentially usually it's like a company hosting it, and it's they give you some sort of like a prompt, like some sort of essentially a project to do that's like either like market analysis, or you have to do some sort of like if it's like a finance competition, then like you have to run like you know model, like you have to model out, like project out, you know uh the finances of some company that you like theoretically want to acquire or something. So I don't regret doing them because I learned a lot from them outside of classes, and it was honestly much more fun than most of my classes. Like in terms of like a form of learning, like I think I'm much more of like an applying, like a practical application sort of learner than like a listen to a lecture and theory sort of learner. So I think I got much more out of doing case comps and like, um, yeah, I think I got much more learning from case competitions than I did um, like just my lecture based classes. And I think that's why I really enjoyed doing them. And I think maybe like some sort of a, like some part of me was probably masochistic and was like, yeah, gonna not sleep. Um, but yeah, no, I don't think that's true. But I think some of the most important things I took from them is like, I think the ones, especially around like branding and marketing, really taught me how to think from like a product perspective. Because we didn't have like a kind of like a product centric class. And so it really taught me like essentially how like a product manager thinks. Um, and so that I remember was really good experience because that really then went and helped a lot when I was at like full my full-time jobs as a software engineer. Because then like um there's like sometimes there's a mismatch in what like a software engineer wants to do and like what a product manager wants to do. And there's like sometimes there's like a friction. And it was really helpful to have had those case comp experiences to be like, oh, like, this is why my product manager wants to do this feature. And so if I want to convince him or her that like, this other feature is worth prioritizing and giving time for, then like the argument isn't like this is a fun technical challenge that I want to do, but like the argument instead is like this is a potentially really good feature for the user. Um and so I feel like that for one was like a really useful experience, just thinking about users, which um from what I can tell, is not something that's taught as often in like CS classes. So, is I find that I come across quite a few software engineers that like, um, yeah, that like kind of think more from like the technical perspective, which I also do a lot, but and not as much, maybe not as much from like a perspective. So that, and also because a lot of the case competitions you had to like present in front of the judges, if you like get to the finals, I got really good at memorizing slides and talking points like the 20 minutes before the presentation. Um, so that also has helped me a lot in conference talks. Because I have had some talks that I finished the slides like literally and like a few hours before or the night before, and I just then spend like an hour or two, um, like maybe 2 3 hours 2 hours or so like memorizing the slides and then go on stage for the conference talk. I am always so nervous that like I feel like I'm getting an ulcer, but um it's really helped me from like memorizing slides perspective also case competitions. What a tangent. Okay. Yeah, so Brian Fitch, Brian Fitch, yeah, so the website doesn't have the ballot box animation on mobile because, and I'll show you why in a little bit, um, because I essentially couldn't get the way that I had done it in Webflow with like absolute positioning. I couldn't get it to work like smoothly across all of the other devices. Um, so I'm trying to like, uh, um, yeah, so I couldn't figure it out in other devices. Yeah, Blue Radon, fair enough. Um, yep, I did go on to proceed to explain exactly why. Um, and hello to Roni. Yep, I agree. All nighter is so no bueno when you're older. I never collected my sleep data because I, back in college, didn't know that like data. I mean, like I knew data was a thing, but like I didn't think about data collection or data visualization at all. I didn't know what it was back in college. So, um, yeah, read on. I actually, although I do kind of, I'm like, oh, hello, birds. Mm, that's true, Alice. First in, first out. Um, which is also, yeah, I feel like that's quite helpful because I think then there's some CS concepts that are based on that too. And also, um, yeah, wow, okay, accounting. I don't think I remember much from accounting at all. Um, oh, what time is it for you in XZU that you're drinking coffee? um, Hello, Tulodar, the kids. Someone who has no CS experience besides that basic Excel course. To find more info. I think it really depends on what you're trying to do. Because even if we're talking software, like in terms of like if you're trying to get a job, if you're trying to go into academia, I feel like it really depends. I can only speak from like if you're trying to get a job in front end. And honestly, I think other people in the chat might be much better at answering that than me, just because I think it's been so long since I started on front end that I don't even know. And I think it was much simpler when I started learning front end development that I don't even really know how someone might get into it in 2020. And some, I think maybe others in the chat that have gone through the process more recently would have a better idea of how you might get started. But I don't think I have like a good pointer to this is how you should start learning to code. I do have more specific answers for like you like starting D3 or starting dataviz, but not general like starting CS. Oh, thank you, Alice. Um, my path from business school to CS minor to data is like, but I still did have a little bit of like a traditional schooling experience where I did have the opportunity with my CS minor to take a lot of like the core fundamental classes. And I think um, if I was to point to like one class that helped the most, even like to now, is like the data structures class I took because um, yes, I'm not ever going to implement like um, you know, linked list from scratch. I like that. That's like most people's go-to example. Um, but yeah, it's not like because we had to do a project where we implemented a linked list from scratch. But it's not like I'm ever gonna do that at work. But knowing the concepts behind it, knowing how these different data structures are implemented, knowing the potential like performance costs, that is really helpful for what I do day to day. It's not something I like really consciously explicitly think of, but it's just like a something that just I subconsciously keep track of and am aware of. I think a part of my computer architecture class was really helpful just because that was a lot to do with memory and garbage collection. And I think having a little bit of knowledge of that was really helpful. But honestly, I think from like a very practical perspective, like I think I learned everything practical on the job after college. Um, oh, Interesting, Blue Radon. I think your CS major will be really, really helpful because, um, yeah. Oh, interesting. Journalism major with a CS minor. I mean, there are a lot of like master's programs for journalism, and I think there's a lot of like newsrooms that hire for like CS majors for to work on their platform. So I think it's really great to have a CS major. And also I firmly believe that like what you study in college isn't like doesn't at all dictate what you do out of college. And I also think it's like what you do with your spare time, which I know is hard in college to have spare time. I feel like my college was like classes, like, yeah, I think it was like, yeah, I don't think it was spare time. I think it was like, and to this day, I think because the business school culture was like so like you must do a lot of extracurriculars. So like I like did classes and internships at the same time for like like for a year and a bunch of extracurriculars um and so it was like that plus partying um and there was like no extra time. So that was a tangent. Sorry. So all I mean is that I know spare time is hard to come by on when you're in college, but I do think what you do in your spare time is um really yeah, like really kind of helps define what you end up doing after college. Um, Not fully there mentally right now, even after all of the coffee, so I'm not sure if that 100% made sense. Um, hmm, Fascinating. I would love to hear to other kids like the reason why people told you not to do computer science, because I feel like I've heard a lot of people say like go into computer science because it's like lucrative right now. Um, Interesting. Accounting or preferably actual math. Um, that is such an interesting. I think a lot of math majors do really well in CS because it's a lot of like, essentially it's a lot of logic problems. But yeah, that's such an interesting. I don't think I've heard that before. Anna says free code camp is really good. Um, if you're interested in web dev, 5:42 p.m. Ooh, that coffee at 5:42 p.m. Ooh, interesting. To are the kids. Says I like Python and using SQL, find stuff to find problems. I need visual data to show. Ooh. Alice, I didn't know that you had a front end engineering internship. I didn't know that. Oh man, I love learning more from this chat. Ooh. Oh, you're in mortgage sales. Interesting. Ooh, that must be really interesting data too. Hate bottlenecks. What kind of bottlenecks are in mortgage sales? Um, oh, Blue Hadon said, "Did you have tips for starting with D3?" Okay, so I um, this is gonna be uh, so I basically the workshop I made for front end masters is basically my um like I got so many questions about how to get into D3 that I just poured everything into that workshop. So I think they have a student discount. If you have like 4 or 5 hours to spare, that's what I would recommend because that's literally my answer to the question, how do I get started with D3? Um, Other than that, I think there are, plenty of other like intro D3 workshops and courses out there. And there's like also the community is really good around D3 and dataviz. So if you get stuck, like you can really like you can usually ask um the D3 Slack for help. Yeah. Ooh, to learn the kids. Yeah. It really, I think, depends on how you learn. For example, for me, like because I'm such a like a, I learn by doing. That I tend to like, you know, getting like basically my preferred approach these days is like taking a short workshop that introduces me to the new technology, and then jumping right into a like project that I'm really interested in doing, like something that I really want to make, and then I learn while I'm making the project. But I feel like I should also um, give the caveat that that is my preferred method of learning after programming for like years. And so thinking back to when I started coding and programming, I think there was a lot of frustration in terms of not knowing what I don't know and not knowing how to go about, finding the solution or the answer. Like, I think the biggest frustration I felt when just starting to learn to code was knowing that I don't know how to do something and knowing that I don't have the solution, but not knowing what the right question to ask is to like Google for the answer. Um, and then slowly over more and more experience, I learned what the right question to ask is. So I don't think that helps you, but I think it's that, you when you're starting to code, just like be patient. And I think there's always going to be a lot of frustration um, in terms of there's so there's so much. Um, but if you just kind of like push through it, then eventually like you'll be rewarded with knowing exactly where to look um, for the answers because the joke is true that at least for front end dev, it's just a lot of Googling. Ooh. Alice says, my boyfriend overheard this combo and said, you should pick. I have thoughts on this. You should pick something you want to build and hack it together. It'd be terrible at first, but you'll learn a lot and your next thing will be better. I agree with this. I guess that's what I was trying to get to with the like, if you learn by doing example. And I guess the only caveat is to start, sorry, the only addition I would say is to like start small, like don't start too big, like start with something that like you think would be so small that you'd be able to do it easily. And then start with that because when I was starting, I think I ran into bugs for the simplest things. And then that was really discouraging to be like, I was trying to build this something bigger and then to like be roadblock at like a even simpler bug than I expected. So just like pull the expectation back, like go for the first simplest thing, build that, then at the next simplest goal, build that, and then keep going, and then eventually, just like you just keep going, um, eventually, I think you'll be able to feel really, really confident in your coding. Honestly, Blue Radon, computer architecture, I took at the same time as data structures and AI. That was like the first semester senior year that I don't know why I did this to myself, but I took data structures, architecture, and AI and machine learning at the same time. Barely remember anything from any of those classes. I only remember like the first third of computer architecture. I also don't know why I was doing it this way, and I also don't know why the professor let me take an upper level AI class that was dependent on the data structures class that I was taking. So like for the first half of my AI class, I was so confused because it was building on top of the later half of my data structures class that I hadn't gotten to yet. Only at the very end of the class, the AI class, was I like, oh, okay, I think I know how to do this now. Yeah, journalism and CS is, yeah, a very, very interesting, good um, combo. Oh yeah, I love Katie's story too, Alice. it's so interesting to hear her career trajectory. Um, I think Blue Radon is really, really fair about being scared of getting stuck doing something I hate. I think that's why um, my wow, we've spent like an hour talking, but I really enjoy these conversations we have. Um, but I I think that's why my year internship was actually at an investment bank. Because until the end of my junior year summer, I thought I was going to graduate and work at an investment bank. Because that's what a lot of my business school friends were doing. Like everybody was going to investment banks or consulting firms or accounting firms. And I thought that's what I was going to do too. Because I spent 3 years studying business, and that's kind of the logical like progression, like the provided path for us to take. Um, I was really depressed that summer. Because I didn't enjoy my job at all. It wasn't. I realized that like I have followed this path, and this is getting into another tangent. Um, and I feel like this is more like a podcast episode topic than a like stream coach stream. No, this is 100% not a coach stream topic, but um, I realized that um, I had spent 3 years in my college following a very carefully laid out path that um, every that basically the business school provides you. And so I feel like there's like if you listen to upperclassmen, there's like the expected trajectory of someone that studied business at our business school, and that was like you graduate, you go into an investment bank, and then you work there for 2 years, and then you go to business school, and then after business school, you might either you go to business school or you go to a like venture capital or private equity or hedge fund, etc. And then you go to business school, and then you make it up the ranks. And it's like a very specifically laid out path. Or like if you decide to go the consulting route, it's like also a very well laid out path. Or like the accounting route, or there's all these routes, but then like it's like a very specific path. And for 3 years, I tried my hardest to like follow that path. And I I remembered like I actually found this really depressing private Tumblr note I wrote myself from my second semester junior year, where I was really depressed because I had gotten what I was working really hard for 2.5 years in college, which was, a summer internship at a like pretty reputable investment bank. And I was like, this is the dream. And I realized I was like so unhappy. Um, and I wasn't sure why I was so unhappy. And actually, no, actually, in that uh, private Tumblr note, I figured it out, which is I was really unhappy because in this very well laid out path, I realized I was chasing the shadow of um, an imaginary person that was like a combination of all of the best, like, quote unquote, best features of all of like, my classmates that like, or the best, most accomplished of my classmates or something like that, where I throughout my life have tried my best not to be competitive with other people, because I realized that it's really bad for my mental health. I realized this around like middle school. And so I spent a lot of my time just being like, okay, just compete with yourself, do the best you can. And what I realized that junior year of college was that the business school I was at, the culture that it was, had kind of like sucked me into this vortex of being so competitive and so jealous of all of my classmates, of like, what they were able to achieve that I wasn't able to achieve. And it wasn't even just like one person I was jealous of, but like a conglomerate of like every success that every one of my um, uh, classmates had. It wasn't one person, it was like an amalgamation of all of them. And I realized I was like chasing this impossible standard. Um, not saying that like, the business school was responsible for it. I think it was just kind of like the environment that I was in and just how susceptible I am to that kind of pressure. Um, and that was why I was so depressed. And that realization, um, that I had achieved my goal, but I was really unhappy, made me also really unhappy at the internship, the investment banking internship that I had. And I started to realize that I was enjoying my CS classes much more. And I had only started doing CS classes like on the side as like this is a nice skill to have, and I really enjoy these classes. And once I realized how miserable I was, just from like a personality mismatch of, I realized that I was doing everything the um, for the for the perception of prestige and not because I enjoyed it. I realized that this wasn't the path that I could keep going down because I was just really miserable that summer internship. And it really showed because the more depressed I was, the worse my quality of work was. And because I take so much pride in the quality of my work, I got even more depressed. It was like vicious negative cycle. So at the end of the summer, that was when I decided that like I should not graduate and do a, like go into banking. Um, and my hiring manager made it easy because he was like, Shirley, we had great expectations for you, but you didn't quite meet those expectations, and I don't think we can offer you a return offer. Um, and I was like, yeah, I'm really, really sorry about my performance this summer. This is um, I don't, I'm not proud of it, and I don't think it's. But it was really helpful for me to figure out it is not the path I want to go down. And that was the summer I figured out that I want to do software engineering because I really, really enjoyed my CS classes. Like I really enjoyed the um, CS classes I was doing on the side much more than the business classes I was doing. And that's why senior year, first semester, I loaded up on like all of the fundamental courses and like did my best to do a minor and was really stressed. And that's how I switched into software. And that was a really, really long story to say. I totally understand you, Blue Radon, about um, yeah, about how it's really scary thinking about ending up in the wrong job. But I think the great thing is that's all within our control, right? Like, it just takes like you can. I think the great thing about a lot of our situations is that we can switch jobs. So if anything, especially when you're in college and you're doing internships, like I did a lot of internships through college, and that's how I figured out. I did internships every year in college, and that's how I figured out which what I did not like to eventually get to what I did like. So I feel like college was a really great time for me to experiment and figure out what was a good fit for me and what wasn't. Mostly what was not a good fit for me. And um, and and that's how eventually I was able to be like, oh, this coding thing is really for me. And I guess what I mean is that the really great thing that I think most of us, if we're lucky enough to have it, is that we can switch jobs. So if we realize that we're not, you enjoying ourselves, it's fully within our control to quit that job and find something new. And not that it's easy, not that it's, especially it might not be easy from like a financial perspective, from like a logistics perspective, but at the end of the day, it is within our control to make that leap. Um, so that was very long. Um, but oh, uh, oh, I didn't know you were at Foursquare. Oh, that's what you were doing in New York, Alice. Um, Yeah, Blue Radar, I do agree. D3 does seem so massive. Nerdy curious, I love it. It's true. Using Google is a skill in and of itself. Random unneeded skill I gained from one of my business internships is how to uh, um, figure out the right Google terms for any question I had. Mainly because I had to research into like different firms and different startups for like the partner to invest into. And so that was a lot of Googling. Oh, thank you so much, you guys. I have very long stories, but I'm really, really glad that you're willing to listen to them. Um, no, I think Blue Radon, like, um, yes, once you pick something, you might get more and more kind of like because you develop more and more experience in there. But because I feel like data journalism, I would say that that might be true for, I mean, you can always change. Um, and that might be more true for if you get more and more experience in one thing and you want to switch to something that's like completely different. But for example, for data journalism and software engineering, I feel like it's like CS is one of the crucial things you need for data journalism. So I feel like if you go to a newsroom, um, you would be able to get like the relevant experience on the job for all of the other things. And I saw that you did some observable notebooks. So like you're already doing things that like because you have this interest, you're already doing these things, and I think newsrooms will see that, and I think that really puts you at an advantage. And honestly, like I think you are doing great. Um, I think you are doing really great, because I think when you're in college, there's like so much potential. Yeah, that was like my one emo blog on Tumblr. I don't think I use Tumblr all that often. Ooh, I love this, Alice. Alice says an advice that teacher once gave me was most things in life are reversible, other than big life things like having a kid or death. Yeah, that's definitely not reversible. You can always change your mind if it's not for you and try out the other option. Your learning won't end after you graduate. It'll probably even expand in ways you didn't even know was possible. I love this. Yeah. Um, I think that's something um that I don't think I realized early enough in college, which was that I felt like before college, all of my life was dedicated to getting to college, that I didn't have a goal after college or an understanding of what post college could look like. Um, I love, and I think what I especially love about um, software and computer science is, or at least front end engineering, is that I'm always still learning something. And I think what I've always loved is learning new things, and so that's why I really really enjoy uh, this industry. But also, um, I think what Alice said is such great advice because I don't think when I was back in college, I felt like college where it was where you do the learning, and then after college is where you do the applying. But actually after college you do even more learning, and that's great. Mm, yeah, nerdy curious. Oh, yeah, I had plans of what we were gonna do, but honestly I am having a really good chat with you all. Yeah, I love that one, Anna. So instead of comparing yourself to others, compare yourself to you from 6 months ago to see your progress. I really, really appreciate that one. And I think that's what I try my best to do usually. But I think there was like 2 years in college. The environment I was in, I think I have forgotten that and had started comparing myself to others again. And I think sometimes it really is. I think it really is kind of the environment and the people you're surrounded with. I was able to find some really, really genuinely great friends in the business school, but I but overall, I think um, it was yeah, it was overall the environment overall was yeah. It is like therapy, Alice. Mm, to let our other kids. I also really love that fact. It says to let our other kids says I'd be considered an F student, but I'm in the top 50 mortgage sales. Yeah. I also really love the fact that how you do in school doesn't necessarily um predict how you do in life. In a good way or a bad way. I in college was really I was not I think I was like pretty average. Um in that I don't do well as a test taker because I just don't do well remembering and like memorizing facts. I I retain them much better when I can apply it and then make sense of it. And I did not do well on tests at all. So, but I did do really well on almost every project I ever had for at least CS. And I think that um, has carried over well after college for me personally. Ooh, Alice, I love that Miyazaki quote. Work hard so you can surpass yourself. Yeah, true that to our other kids. If you compare yourself to others, it's like you're always failing. Um, oh no, I'm sorry to hear that about your uncle. Oh no, hello, lactose intolerant. Welcome to the chat. You don't have to go back in time. But I do. I guess it is harder to try and switch after college than it is when you were in college doing internships or something. Like I guess it's harder once you're at a full-time job to do a career switch. But I knew plenty of people that like switched into um software as and I remember my friend Kyle Shevlin, he has a podcast on that he calls Second Career Devs, and it's all about um, uh, people that had some other career that was completely different, and they switched into software um, mid career, or not maybe not even mid career, but like they after a while, in another career they switched into software, and I don't know if he's continued that podcast, but I think Kyle would be like a great person to follow, anyways, for those sorts of stories of how people did it. So yeah, his name is Kyle Shevlin. Ooh, yeah, nerdy curious. Knowing what you don't want to do is half the battle. Thank you, Anna. Should call this story time unexpected, unplanned story time with Shirley. Yeah, I feel like I was also quite restrictive on myself in my university days in terms of exploring different classes. I think I just went straight into business because I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. Um, we really like those intolerable. Google recruits people who search for coding stuff on Google. Ah. Nerdy curious, my real life superpower is effective Googling. Part art, part science. Oh no! Blue Radon, you got this. Yeah. Ooh. Alice says sometimes college makes you feel hemmed into very specific paths because you have to declare a major and all that. But there are so many dimensions of learning out in the quote unquote real world, and people try out new things all the time in their careers, constantly learning. Yeah, Alice says, I feel like Shirley, Amy, and I in our studio are like jack of all trades who just liked a lot of different things and mashed them together into our own career paths. Definitely true. I love Alice's career path too. I don't know if you've ever like kind of expanded it on a podcast or anything, Alice, but like that is a great story too. And Amy's story is so good too. Um, I love how Amy is like, I'm don't describe myself in one word. She's like, I just have interests and then I pursue them. So she's done so many different things. Yeah, Blue Radar, I agree. Touch scare me too. Actually, to this day, technical coding interviews scare the out of me. Um, I'm just like, I remember the very first technical coding interview I had. I still remember it was something to do, it was like some sort of like an algorithm question. Um, and it had to do with the alphabet, it's doing something with the alphabet. Um, and I was so nervous because it was my very first coding interview. But I started it off with, okay, so because this is the alphabet, um, uh, okay, so there are 27 letters in the alphabet. Wait, hold on. 27, 26, 26 letters, 25, 26, 26. Is it 26 or 27? And um, suffice to say, I never heard back from that company, which is fine. Um, yeah, that is true. Education, Nerdy Curious says education is important, but the system needs an overhaul. Yeah, everyone learns in their own ways. Yeah, testing just doesn't make sense for some disciplines. Yeah, true. No system will ever fit everyone. That is true. Nerdy Curious says, I'm a product of private schools, and I did like my high school, but they were really good at making test takers when they should have taught us how to learn. Yeah, very true. And that's actually that's one of the things that I'm really grateful for my parents because my parents made a very conscious decision to bring our family here to America because they were very concerned about the education system in China because in China it really is very much about like memorizing and regurgitating facts and not as much about like critical thinking. That they really wanted me to have an education in America where like critical thinking is much more prioritized. And I'm really grateful for that. Um, because I am much better at critical thinking than I am about more memorization. Although maybe if I had gone to high school in China, then I'd be really great at memorization and regurgitation. Oh my God, yes, I agree. Teachers deserve way better. Yes. It is constantly one of the things that frustrate and upset me the most that teachers get paid so little in the US when they do some of the most important work. I have no idea how to even like start unpacking that. Um, yeah. I love that, Alice. I want to be an art teacher when I retire, but my class will be wild and super experimental. I have a completely unrealistic and unadvisable dream for when I retire, which is that I want to be um, a my alma mater is Berkeley, and I want to be a professor at Berkeley. Like I want to retire as a professor in the Berkeley Hills. Um, it's like all of the wrong reasons. I just want to live in the Berkeley Hills. Like I just want the status of being a professor in the Berkeley Hills. So all the wrong reasons. Um, I just love the Berkeley Hills. Ooh, yeah, I agree. Can we pre-sign up, Alice? Oh my God, I love it if we're like, 65 and we're just like making like experimental art in our studio. Ooh, sign me up for that. Whoa. Tiladar the kid said, I learned sales from a hostage negotiator. You seem to have really interesting stories. Um, yeah, nerdy curious. I know stuff. I hate being under pressure to remember the stuff. Very true. Ooh, what a story Blue Raid on. Yeah. Hello, Off Light X. Oh, nice. Yeah. Alice is like, oh, why can't you live in Berkeley now? Yeah, I feel like so well, this was before the pandemic, but I feel like so much of my like clients and stuff, and our studio is in SF, and I hate the bridge traffic, so that's why I don't live in East Bay. But that's why I want to retire to the Berkeley Hills. Like it's like a very specific. I feel like there's such a nice ring to like I'm a professor living in the Berkeley Hills. Again, all of the wrong reasons. Okay, so we have talked for an hour and 20 minutes. And I guess I'm finally going to show the project that we launched. What a great talk. Thank you, everyone, for such a great talk. Um, I um, didn't mean for it to go this long, but had a really great time talking. Um, but now I'm behind again. This is a conflict project. It's an hour and 20-minute tangent. Um, which is all you have to do is mention interesting things in the chat and I will go off on the tangent. Yeah. um, okay, so drum roll. This is the website. So unfortunately, there's a little bit of a bug in terms of the positioning. So this actually fixes the bug. Hold on. It's like to do with well, let's not talk about let's not get too into why there's a bug. There is a bug in the positioning, but this is what it should look like. And when you that animation, so good. We did this animation together last Friday, and Nelson um, from Webflow helped me do it in like a few minutes. It was amazing. I couldn't get over this animation. And then this is the interactive that I published and that I stayed up until 5 a.m. doing. Um, and it was the idea behind it was wanted to see how many people vote on election day versus early voting. And note that this is only in-person voting. It doesn't include like mail-in voting. Um, but I think the interactive part is you can filter by your own um, state and then dig into that. It does seem like not, this is all self-reported data, so um, not all states reported like full data on this, um, but also really interesting. Hold on. Ooh, actually, let me do this. So spent a while on these animations, uh, and then I think my favorite part is like, what if you want to see the states um, that you know have this percentage of early voting, and then the states where 50% of or more of their voting participation is early voting is Texas, which I did not expect. I need to go verify this data later to make sure there's like no data input error again. Oh, I just realized this is probably really small for you all. And Tennessee and Nevada. And likewise, if I want to see like all of the ones where majority of them did um, election day voting. It's like, I think Pennsylvania, Alabama is up there too. Yeah, Alabama is mostly all election day voting because I think they didn't offer early voting. Um, Things I need to go verify. But yeah, um, so this is all made in observable, and the fun part is everything is reactive, so it updates. For example, if I do Arkansas, um, then the text updates, and actually, some very interesting things about Arkansas is like there's, it seems like some of these states have very interesting shapes where like some of the counties have much more early voting than other states. So I do wonder if it has something to do with their like population demographics. So I plan to look into that later. I'm planning to turn this into an Instagram story, like an Instagram post with like annotated stories. But this was one that was really fun to also have an interactive for. Like for example, like Texas is got a really interesting shape where some, like I don't even know what this one is, but like some counties have a lot of it early voting, and in some counties just do well, you can tell that that number is probably incorrect. There's probably a data input error because you can't have 71% of total participation be early voting and then another 100% be election day. So they definitely have data input error there. But other than that, it's very interesting to kind of see the shape of, um, counties that did well in early voting versus didn't have as much early voting. And some of them, the numbers are quite low, so I don't know. And then there's also, for example, I think, was it Arizona? That some of them just has like a very distinct shape that looks, no, which one is it? Mississippi? Oh yeah, like Mississippi just like has just like a very clear shape. So I'm gonna work on a story for this that hopefully I can publish tomorrow morning. Um, but then I have kind of the Instagram stories, and here are some of the ones. I think you saw me last Wednesday. I think you saw me working on this particular story, which is about the number of removed registered voters, then compared to the margin of victory. Can I make this bigger? Yeah, perfect. And so this launched on Monday. It was honestly really fun to kind of like pull the data into, pull the SVGs into Illustrator and kind of like work with them in Illustrator and annotate them in Illustrator. Honestly, I have discovered a new joy in creating arrows in Illustrator. So you can see I did a lot of arrows in some of these because I just enjoyed making arrows in Illustrator. It's like my newfound joy. Yeah. So there's been, I have this Instagram account that is going to just be dedicated to these bite-sized stories. And then the kind of companion website is this website that I just launched, where I can also, on top of the bite-sized static stories, can also provide some interactive stories as well. And this is a little bit about the project and the team of people that have been helping me. If you have any data leads, or if you want to, if you know anyone interested in sponsoring, that'd be great because then I can pay us fairly. And subscribe for new stories. yeah, and look at all these. Oh wait, no, man. And subscribe. Like, look at all these kind of like, ooh, um, this like scrolling thing. That was just like 1 second in Webflow, and I was like, oh my god, blows my mind. I looked at my stats, and I spent 14 hours on purely building out this website, not the design part of it, because Pablo helped with did the whole design, but on just making this website work, I spent 14 hours, and 4 of those hours was live streaming. So there's that too, and um, which honestly, I feel like we were able to do so much with um, like 14 hours for all of this is like incredible to me. Um, and it was like super easy to just like drop in these like Instagram embeds. Yeah, great experience. Um, yeah, I agree. Um, um, oh no, Blue Radon is like, someone say something to make her tangent. Um, and then uh, Alice says, "Let's get boba." Um, I hope you're serious because I would love to get boba. Um, actually, Wednesdays. Oh my god, another tangent. Wednesdays we call Wonderful Wednesdays because we go get boba and we do takeout at one of our favorite local restaurants. Oh, Amir Mio, thank you. Um, yeah, the interactive is really cool. And Amir Mio says Nelson is dope. Oh no, my headphones ran out of batteries. Apparently, I've been talking too long. Oh, thank you, Blue Radon. Um, I like the colors a lot of this interactive, but also, this interactive I think took me 6 hours. Um, but uh, it's really amazing that all of the interactions only took me, I think, it must have only taken me like 4 hours to finish all the interactions because observable makes like is reactive and hooks up all of the interactions for me. So um and then I just dropped in this observable embed, also really fun. And then you can go directly to the notebook itself, which is published, and you can look up the code um, of how I did it. Um, yeah, so very happy to have worked with both Webflow and Observable because it just makes my life much easier to make the things I have in my head. Um, Thank you, Blue Radon. Um, I don't know. That'd be so interesting to see if there's a correlation between like party and who votes early. That is also another very interesting thing to potentially look at. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Ooh, look at Georgia's shape. So interesting. I was also thinking about potentially, that was so interesting. I was also thinking about, because this is percent of total participation, of letting you choose like to see the absolute numbers instead. I don't know. I think I should stop. This is why I'm saying that like the whole static format for Instagram is really helpful because I don't have to go down this rabbit hole of like, oh, but what if I like add this feature? Or what if I like give this like capability? Oh man, Florida. So has been looking at uh, North Carolina, sorry, North Carolina data and found a voter that was labeled as 167 years old. There are so many data entry errors. Yeah. Ooh, Harris County, Texas is so interesting. Let's see. One of the things I really wanted to do for this is like also let you do a drop down and find your own county. Um, but yeah, so many features, so little time. Nothing wrong with 167-year-olds. Who would think you nerdy curious about the eras? All the features. Okay, so today, oh my gosh. Okay, so what I originally wanted to do is start preparing for, okay, I'm gonna close some of these tabs because my laptop is like, you've been streaming too long, and I'm gonna get really, really slow. So, what I originally had planned for this stream is one of our stories coming up that I'm really, really excited about is about gerrymandering. And in particular, I didn't think I would say those words in the same sentence. Very excited about a story on gerrymandering. um, but I guess here we are, 2020. So yeah. Anyways, and the story is about how, um, yeah, gerrymandering is wild. Um, uh, because uh, all these things I'm learning this year, this month, essentially. So what I learned is that states draw new districts every 10 years based on census data. Can't believe I didn't know that. Never thought about that. But because of that, there are certain states where, oh no, wait, hold on. Okay, running out of battery. I don't know. I hope, um, is my, uh-oh. Oh, okay. Ooh, this is what happens when I forget to charge them before. I'm thinking of like moving to an actual just mic for my streams. Anyways, so there are apparently um some states have an independent commission to do the redistricting, but a lot of states, the redistricting are done by the state legislature. Um, Also something I didn't know. And the there are certain states where the how do I describe this? So because the redistricting is done um, through the state legislature, this 2020 election is really important for um, basically electing a state legislature that's like bipartisan. And we've been in contact with uh, the Princeton gerrymandering project, thanks to a referral from the pudding. Um, and this project shows, well, it does a lot of different things around gerrymandering, but one of the things it does is something called Moneyball, where it shows the uh, essentially the state house districts where the people have the highest voting power, that if they can flip that seat, then there's like, okay, so this is me trying to explain something that I like barely understood and am now just starting to understand. But there are apparently 8 or 10 house seats, like state Texas state house seats that are very much a toss up. So if they can be flipped, then it would lead to a bipartisan state legislature in Texas, um, and uh, hopefully lead to a much more um, bipartisan redrawing of like the Texas map, redistricting of the Texas map. And yeah, this is the link. And so the next story is specifically around these 8 Texas districts and essentially putting what I just said very clumsily into a story. And so the thing I was thinking about is so this story is going to be in like 3 parts. And the very first part is about specifically these 8 house seats, Texas seats, that are flippable, and if flipped, would make the redistricting effort much more equal. Okay, that was a much more concise explanation of what I was trying to say. And so today's goal was to go and get the data for the Texas house seats and their status and visually showing how uh, how these seats are going to be. Okay, I think I am finished my coffee and am like now starting to be just like all over the places in my thought process. So let me just try and pull up that data. Well, and it is from Follow the Money and 2020. Perfect. Okay. So, um, Mary Curious says, as a Canadian, this is super fascinating. As an American, super fascinating and extremely confusing. And so here is actually found this data set and I'm really excited. The only thing is that for the data export, I need an account and I forgot to make an account beforehand. So I might just have to end the stream like before I can do anything. Well then. But yeah, so essentially it has all of the campaigns from this year for the House, the Texas State House. Um, and I was going to pull this data in and visualize which oh, this is actually much more complicated than I originally thought. So which seats have already been won or lost, or most likely to be one party or another, and then show the seats that are in a toss up. And I just realized that, okay, this takes a lot more thought than I was originally thinking. Um, I need to figure out a way to say which um, which seats are guaranteed what color and which seats are a toss up. So I guess like for some, for example, like the seat is pending, as in like, it hasn't been won yet, but it seems like there's nobody running against the incumbent. So it's just going to be, for this House district, for example, it's just going to be Republican for that seat. Yeah, I need to actually figure out from a data perspective how to determine which seats are for sure what color and which seats are toss-up. Um, yeah. Blue radon. So some of my poli sci friends have given me some really in-depth explanations, and it's such a wild thing. I'm starting to just grok my mind around it, and I agree, it is such a wild thing. Um, I'm actually gonna. This is good because I worked through that this was more complicated than what I had in mind. So I need to actually go do some more homework. Um, I'm gonna direct download, and I have to register. So, ooh, yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna go sign up, and then I was originally planning for this story on Friday, um, which means that I have all of tomorrow, and I hope I'm able to do some sort of a story by Friday. And so by Friday stream, we'll be doing a part 2 and 3 of the story. Yeah, um, that is the plan. Um, yeah, I need to go off stream and think about this some more. Maybe have some more caffeine, which is dangerous for later. But yeah. Oh, did I mention that I wore red as like a celebration for launching the website? Um, yay. But thank you for what a stream. This was such a thank you so much for sticking around the stream. I had a lot of fun chatting with you guys. And thank you for the great conversation. I will uh, come back to this. I'll come back with some updates on how I did it. Hopefully, I'll have the story published by Friday morning, but if not, then we can work on this on Friday stream. It really was a really fun stream. Thank you for everyone in the chat, and thank you for the discussion. And I will see you Friday morning at 10:30 a.m. PST. Bye bye. Have a great day.